Hi, my name is Zarina Aishamiran and welcome back to my LTM Fundamentals series. Today I am going to talk about SNATs in two parts. So for the first part I will be covering what an SNAT is, when to use an SNAT, and how an SNAT works for outbound and inbound. Okay, so what is an SNAT? First of all, an SNAT stands for Source Network Address Translation. It's important that you understand what a NAT is before diving into SNATs. You can check out my video on the link below. So an SNAT is essentially an object that maps the source client IP to a translation address, which is defined on the big IP. That destination node then uses that new source address as its destination address when responding to the request. Now, with NATs, you can map only one IP to a translation address, so one original address to a translation address. Whereas with SNATs, you can map multiple original addresses to a single translation address, which is quite cool. Okay, so when would you want to use an SNAT? You would normally want to use it when you want to ensure that the server responses are always returned through the big IP system, or when you want to hide the source address of server-initiated requests from external devices. So on the big IP, you would have an option where you can put SNAT as none to disable using this feature, or allow SNAT. So how does it work in 3 simple steps? First of all, the local traffic manager receives a packet from the original IP, so the source, and then it checks to see if that source address is defined in a SNAT. Step 2, if that original IP is defined in a SNAT, then the LTM changes that source IP to the translation address defined in the SNAT. Finally, the third step is the local traffic manager then sends the packet with the SNAT translation address as the source address to the destination host. To illustrate an SNAT inbound flow properly with an example, I've taken this diagram from the F5 website, and you can find all of the references down below. Do check them out because they're really good. So here we can see a client on the left with an IP of 192.168.30.5 is going to hit the server 10.10.10.3, which is right on the right of the screen. And so what happens here is they connect via the big IP system, which is sitting in the middle. And what that big IP system does at the first step is take that client IP and translate it to the SNAT address, which is 192.168.10.20. That information is passed on to the server as if that was the source address. The server then, instead of going via the default gateway to then hit the client, where the client would then drop the packet because it's not the original route that it took, instead what would happen is they would go through the big IP system again, but hitting that translation address, that source address 192.168.10.20, which is then mapped back to the client address, and that's essentially how it works. Simple. So for outbound connections, the connections are initiated by the server node. So SNATs ensure that the internal IP of the server node remains hidden to the external host when the server initiates a request to that host. Okay, so now we understand what an SNAT is, why we use SNATs and how an SNAT works, whether it's inbound or outbound. In the next video, I will be explaining the different types of SNATs and best practices to follow when implementing SNATs. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was of great use. You understood something. And if not, do let me know in the comments down below. Please like, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Bye!